adults have to work really hard at is, to sort of sort through these unconscious biases, be it to women, be it to transgender community, and be it to any other diverse group. If it is a North Indian company, then the unconscious biases to the South Indians. If it's a South Indian company, unconscious biases to North Indians, different ethnic communities, etc.
Hello and welcome to Honest Talk. I'm Harsh Pandey for this particular session. Our guest will be Miss Asha Pillai ma'am, who is here with us. She is the Chief Finance Officer and Finance Director for Hajira Group of Companies. She is also the Chairperson for Confederation of Indian Industries, Indian Women's Network, Gujarat. So first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thanks very much, and please call me Asha.
It's completely, I don't have any other option, ma'am. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is women and work, then, now, and what does the future hold? Recent decades have seen a significant rise in the number of women in the workplace. According to a 2017 Pew Research report, women now account for over 40% of the labor force in many countries, including the United States, Canada, Japan, and Australia. But true gender equality remains elusive. The United Nations recently reported that women still participate less in the job market and are more likely to have vulnerable employments. Improving workplace gender equality is a key role of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development. In highlights a 2018 International Monetary Fund study which showed that having more women in the workplace boosts productivity and economic growth. So, ma'am, my very first question to you is, in your experience, does being a woman in workplace come with extra challenges in comparison to men?
Thank you. I think that's a very pertinent question. There's a lot of statistics that show that women, especially in India, have fallen off the workplace. The Economist had an article that talked about how India fails its women, and it talks about the rich irony that the middle class Indian family considers it as a sign of upward mobility if the women in the household were not to be working. Women normally get married, go to their in-laws place, and then they're expected to sort of tend to the home and the family. So what we do have globally as well is these non-linear careers on account of the fallout of women from the workplace, on account of the three M's of marriage, maternity, and mobility. In addition to that, there's of course this double bind that is called in the workplace, or the unconscious biases that play into how women are perceived. Where if women are seen as likable, they're not seen as competent. If they're seen as competent, they're not seen as likable. So much so that even Hillary Clinton, was a lot of people didn't vote for her because people said she's not likable enough. So much so that in 2008, during the primary runoff, Obama said, "Hillary, you're likable enough." So it is a statistically proven, several research articles that talk about the unconscious biases that women have to sort of deal at the workplace. So it is an uphill task, and apparently it'll take another 100 years for gender equality. And there is a lot of unpaid care work that the women have to do in the household. And unpaid care work apparently works out to $11 trillion in the global GDP, not accounted for. But at the same time, supporting the society, but it creates great self-sacrifice for the women, and creates what is called time poverty, which is what is preventing them to sort of be at the workplace. So even when the COVID relief efforts have been thought through the UN, WHO, everyone talks about putting women and girls at the center of pandemic relief efforts, so that all of the good work that we've done doesn't get washed out because of what's going on in during COVID. There's a lot of women facing job losses on account of COVID, for various reasons, because of the sectors that the women are in, tourism, for example. So it's a host of factors, societal, unconscious biases, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Indeed, ma'am, you have told many important points, and I think the viewers, those who are watching, they are surely going to understand these points and understand what are the real causes behind. Still, we are living in the world where women are not treated as much as are equal to men. Ma'am, my next question to you is: what is the greatest transformation in social values or tradition you have witnessed in your life?
So that's a that's a good one. I think each generation brings role models to society, that sort of show women working. So our generation, for instance, has benefited from generations of the past women who battled even more stronger biases, and paved the path for us. Today, gender diversity in corporates is an important target, a KPI, if you will, and that is because of all of the women who have carved out the path for us. So when I joined Whirlpool in 2005, at the time my hiring manager said, oh, you're going to sort of up the diversity quotient in Whirlpool, and my only hope was I was better than the man who interviewed with me. So that's when I realized diversity was important even back then when I joined. So definitely there's a lot more focus on diversity as far as corporates are concerned, and multinational companies, even Indian conglomerates are concerned. But again, sort of the corporates can only go that far. The families have to meet the women halfway as well. And there, society hasn't progressed a lot. Statistically, again, where women, a lot of women who get married are not allowed to work either by the spouses or by the families. And I don't mean they're not allowed to work explicitly, they're not allowed to work implicitly. And that is because of things like, oh, who will take care of the house, who will take care of the family. And then the women's careers, when something happens in the family, um, that's the first casualty. um, when there's a stressful situation in the home front, the man would never think of leaving his job. But if there is a stressful situation in the home front, the woman would first say, okay, I have to give up my career because I need to take care of my family, because it is acceptable within the society. So corporates have gone quite a distance, but families and sort of male colleagues need to be sort of brought into the conversation, and each person has to uplift the woman in his life, um, to sort of achieve true equality.
Indeed, ma'am, it's a very excellent point you have raised, and I think the people those who are watching, they are surely going to understand this. Ma'am, as you have taken the example of corporate, which they have means in corporate, they have really done a great job. But do you think enough has been done to help or support women in leadership position? If not, what would you recommend?
So this is an interesting one. When I talked about unconscious biases, the double bind playing in, this is implicit. So everyone sort of has the right intentions to sort of, nurture female talent, as far as corporates are concerned. But there are articles, I think it's a Forbes magazine, that talks about overwhelming feedback, performance feedback that the women get at the workplace is on their demeanor. Men get constructive feedback on performance, but women get feedback on how they behave, that they are aggressive, that they are sort of too docile. and that plays unfairly into performance ratings, which then ultimately impact, their growth potential. So that's the key difference, that corporates have to overcome. And ultimately corporates are made of people, and people come with their unconscious biases. So it's like the iceberg. You have the behaviors, they want to do all of the right things, they have the right intentions, but the berg that is submerged has is coming from a place where that person was nurtured and raised, the society, the family, the culture, the context, and therefore all of these unconscious biases will play in. So it'll take, and that's the reason why they say it'll take another 100 years for women to reach true equality, simply because of the unconscious biases that we need to overcome over time.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, may I ask you what are the best example of positive change in the workplace that you have noticed in the past 5 years?
What change did you say? I didn't
Uh,
catch that.
what are the best positive change in the workplace that you have
Positive
noticed in
changes.
the past 5 years?
Past 5 years, like I said, diversity clearly is a really key important factor. Even with respect to Confederation of Indian Industries, Indian Women Network, the network was established in 2013. The Confederation of Indian Industries is a very prestigious industrial body associated with every layer of corporates and government bodies, national level, state level, and all of that. Now, there's an increasing understanding that you need diversity even in these industry bodies. So we've got Indian Women Network that has very senior women, and what we do is we actually nominate these members to task forces in the CII main body to make sure that we have diverse viewpoints. In the past 5 years, there's definitely continued focus as far as diversity is concerned in every spectrum of life, be it the corporate world, be it the NGOs, be it the education sector, be it CII as an industry body, and also laws that sort of tell you that you need an independent director who is a female, who is not from the family. So there's a lot of focus from the law point of view. There's also government that's talking about 33% reservations, if you will, for women. Um, and the reason why reservations, I understand, is a hotly contested topic. But ultimately, if you need to kind of give women a leg up, then you need to sort of create some of these targets in order to kind of infuse the diversity into all organizations. So, from a corporate point of view, industry bodies point of view, the government point of view, I believe there's a lot of focus as far as women and diversity are concerned. What is more difficult to achieve is to get the families to truly live and breathe true equality in the household as far as career is concerned.
All right, ma'am. Again, it was an excellent answer from your side, and you have repeatedly mentioned that it's all start from the upbringing. So that we need to change the upbringing. We need to means in our education system, rather in our, we need to first educate people that the women are also as much important as the men. Ma'am, my next question to you is that do you think it's important for more women to take up the important or leadership role in the organization?
So the business case has been proven time and time again. Boards that have women leadership, companies that have women in their leadership perform far better than boards that are exclusively male dominated. And this is not just from a women men diversity angle. Diversity is from all points of view, all walks of life, diverse viewpoints, be it South Indians and North Indians, for example, different ethnicities, different socio-cultural backgrounds. What they bring is diverse thoughts and viewpoints that then sort of help craft corporate strategy and corporate plans, sort of basing those informed decisions. So therefore, that's a really important need today as far as corporates are concerned. I don't think the business case for diversity needs to be talked of anymore. Everyone understands that, sort of the companies who have diverse talent will essentially perform better than companies who don't.
All right, ma'am, we could not deny the fact that having more women in the workplace boosts productivity and the economic fact. We need to understand now these things. Ma'am, my next question to you is, as you've been in the corporate sector from the last around 15 to 16 years, my next question to you is, how do you expect the workplace to change over the next 5 years to encourage more women into work?
So I work with Shell, and I already know that Shell, like other multinational companies, do a lot to kind of keep women in the workplace. So there are various points. So one is, of course, getting women in the workplace, which is easy because if you look at the education sector, I was sort of talking to a college recently, and they had 60% women and 40% men. So increasingly, as long as girls are in school and girls are being educated, the pool of girls coming into women coming into the workplace, as long as they're 50-50, we're in a good space. Where the fallout happens is the managed mobility maternity space, and that women sort of need help through those times through mentoring. And also Shell also has return to work policies as well. So specific policies aim for women who have taken breaks, career breaks, on account of sort of tending to their family, young children, etc. And these policies and measures are being not only continued but also emphasized over the course of time. Especially with Shell, it's coming all the way from the top that we need to sort of focus on women and diversity. We need to focus on unconscious biases. In fact, in the Indian Women, the International Women's Day celebrations on March 8th, we spoke about choosing to challenge unconscious biases. Um, so there's a lot of focus on getting women in the workplace, one, and keeping women in the workplace. So the true success of an organization and for the woman's career is for her to to be able to have a full career, even if there were breaks, to be able to come back, and then sort of continue with that career. So that's critical as a measure for all corporates to adopt and adapt.
Indeed, ma'am, I think it's very hard to disagree with you on this point. Ma'am, my next question to you is: what advice would you give to a woman considering a career in the corporate world? What do you wish you had known?
There's only one advice, and it's not even advice, it's coming from my own experience as well. um, you know when you're young, you don't have to think about anything else. You don't have to think about family. You're only thinking about your work. But then you will have, you will get married. Most likely, you can choose to not to as well. And you might have children. You will have aging parents, and through all of this, it will be, if you want to kind of pursue a career in the corporate world, um, do not think that your career needs to be a casualty every time there is a stressor at home. Try and see how you can have an equal partnership with your spouse so that both of you are involved in the caregiving of family members, be it children or elderly, such that both of your careers are advanced. Always have your career on the table as a topic that is an important one to be addressed by the family. That's the only way you can have a full career through your life.
Indeed, ma'am, it's a very excellent answer from your side. Ma'am, I don't want to take you much time. So, moving to my last question of this session, actually, the question is what policies can we put into place to move our organization towards more towards gender equality? I'm not talking about means in this case only women. We know about the LGBTQ community, so we can include that one also in this answer.
Indeed. So again, in our organization, we talk about LGBT rights. Recently, Joe Biden talked about. So in 1995, Hillary Clinton said, "Women's rights are human rights are women's rights," and Joe Biden has appropriated that for the transgender LGBT community as well. And their rights are also human rights indeed. And it is really important for people to feel safe, to be able to come that they are part of the LGBT community and not sort of have to deal with unconscious biases. So if women have a set of unconscious biases they have to deal with, it's nothing when compared to the unconscious biases that LGBTQ communities have to face. So while corporates have all of the right policies in terms of return to work and everything else, mentorship, etc., I think the one thing that corporates have to work really hard at is, to sort of sort through these unconscious biases, be it to women, be it to transgender community, or be it to any other diverse group. If it is a North Indian company, then the unconscious biases to the South Indians. If it's a South Indian company, unconscious biases to the North Indians, different ethnic communities, etc. So essentially, you can have as many policies as you want on paper, but ultimately it's people who are implementing the policy, and the people in the who need to kind of carry out the policy in letter but as well as in spirit. And that's the one thing that I think organizations need to get a lot more good at in due course.
Indeed, ma'am. Again, it was a quite meaningful answer from your side. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time. It was a very healthy discussion with you on the topic, and we look forward to conduct more sessions with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone